the 2 parts of the afternoon. First hour or so, I want to look at how to think about curriculum in the 21st century in light of what we just did this morning. And then secondly, lots of examples of how this looks, what this looks like in practice, okay? So it does 2 things. Number 1, it says, start experimenting. Start innovating back home. Try something small and go for it. Okay? So as you come through the afternoon, you're thinking, how can I use this back home? And the easiest way to start applying this is apply this to something that you're not doing right now. So whenever I talk to people, they'd say, well, I don't know if I should change what I'm doing. I said, well, don't. Don't start there. Pick an area that you're not doing in lifelong faith formation, like everybody after confirmation, families at home, families with young children 0 to 5 years old. In other words, instead of experiment with these things in areas that have been underserved and see how it works. Because no matter what you do with families with young children, if you've never done anything with them, it's going to be better just by putting attention on it. So what you need this afternoon is an experimental mindset. You need to think, we're going to innovate, we're going to try experiments, we're going to learn from doing this. Okay? Everybody always comes to the workshops and they want to guarantee that it's going to work. And I kind of chuckle, like, guarantee? How do you know the 3rd graders are learning? Any guarantee there? No guarantee. You experiment, innovate to contextualize this for your church. It's going to look different from church to church because the needs are different. People are different. The other thing, though, is this is the opposite side. As you're listening to this, think, how can I partner with other churches? So I was doing this workshop 3 or 4 years ago for a group of Presbyterian churches. And there were some really tiny, now, like Catholics think they're tiny churches, but most Catholic small parishes would be a Protestant megachurch. So these were pastors. They were all, it was so funny, they were all sitting at the same table with each other. I know it was kind of commiserating. They all averaged about 100 members. 100 members. Not households, individuals. So the group of them had 600 max individuals. And they kept on looking at me as I was going through the data going, how we can never do this? I said, but why can't you collaborate with each other? Build a website, a faith formation website. Co-brand it. Put all your logos on there, pictures, whatever. Decide on the emphasis you want for each month or each season. Program it together. You can still have your own church website with the mass schedule, church worship schedule, that kind of stuff. But I said, why not just collaborate? And every 4 or 6 or 8 weeks, get together to curate the site. Or divide it up. You do Bible, you do worship, you do church year, whatever. I said, online, you could look huge. No one would know you're only 600 people total. But it's a way to, what's really hard in the physical world, like they were all within, an hour and a half of each other, but it's really hard to do joint programming, meshing schedules and facilities. But online, no problem at all. In fact, there's a lot of synergy in the saving of energy by partnering. So I want you to just think innovation, experiment, partner with people, tap other resources, all those kind of things. But just start. That's why we're doing this pilot project. Start. Try something to learn how to do it. Okay. So let's start with here. Here's 3 big shifts that are happening in education. So if you were out in the education world, and by the way, a lot of my insights are coming from the education world into the faith formation church world. Okay. So what's going on out there? 3 big shifts. We're moving from education to learning anywhere, anytime. You'll notice, even though we talk about public education, that kind of stuff, most of the time we're talking about learning. Where we learn, how we access learning, how we work together in learning. And it's fascinating that over the last 40 years, we've gone from schooling to education to learning. This learning's lifelong. We're moving from the consumption of information, my old Baltimore catechism days where you consumed the catechism and then regurgitated it in exactly the same way you consumed it, to participatory learning. If you can't participate, interact, mess around with it, reshape it, reform it, then if you're a millennial, younger millennial, or an I-generation kid, you're not interested. Look at the games that children play with, whether it's digital or real. It's got to be things that they can redesign, participate with, interact, reformulate to be their own. And lastly, we're going from institutions as delivering education to networks. So now all these resources are laid out, and we're going to bring them together and build a network for learning. That's the three big shifts. Usually institutional delivery is vertical, network delivery is horizontal. So you're going to aggregate, assemble lots of resources around the people. The way they describe it is this. In the digital age, the fundamental operating delivery systems are networks, not institutions, not an institution. Institutions like schools are the node on a network of learning opportunities. People learn across institutions, so the entire learning network. So you're really going to pull together, like, and if I was talking about education in, let's say, in a city, schools, but museums are places of education. I was taught an adult education course for the Archdiocese of New York. And I'm teaching this in Manhattan, okay? And they're saying, oh, we just have no resources. You know, rural church, middle of Montana, okay. Middle of Manhattan, really? Well, I said, if I was doing, well, how hard adult education is, they don't come to our stuff. I said, I've got people, what if you spent a day at the Biblical Museum? It's part of the American Bible Society. It's a great museum, interactive things. Go on field trips with adults. Oh. I said, the whole city is your learning network. You don't have to organize anything. You don't have to design anything. How many people within 50 square blocks of you can you bring in to speak on anything? I mean, you're in Manhattan. I must have said it about a dozen times and it started finally sinking in. Yeah, we live in Manhattan. That's a network as opposed to a program or an institution. What if learning adapted to each person? Instead of expecting each person to adapt to the school or the curriculum of the program, which is exactly what we do right now. And then we get upset when people don't adapt to us. What's the matter with those people? Why isn't church important? Step back. On a network, you can adapt to the people because variety, choice, options are all available. Put learners at the center, not the church, not the curriculum, learners. Enable them to be co-creators of their learning experiences, picking and choosing what they will learn, when they will learn it, how they will learn it, where they will learn it, and with whom they will learn it. You can do that today. Connect learning to life concerns and real-world issues. I think that's the motivator, to be honest with you. So if I wanted to learn the Bible 30 years ago, what would I have done? I would have found a Bible study group, hopefully at my church, or if not, certainly the Protestant church down the street. I could have taken a course. I could have read a book. So now it's 2015. If you want to learn the Bible, what are your options? They're pretty much unlimited, aren't they? You do need a guide, though, to help sort out the good stuff from the not so good stuff. But I could take a course. I could do an online course. You know how many online Bible courses there are? Oh, my goodness. Hundreds, thousands. I could join a Bible study group. I could do it in person, face-to-face. I could do it online. Heck, today I could do it in my home because the content comes digitally delivered. I could read a book. I like the mix of, I just give people all these options, whatever is best for them. I can watch a set of video programs. So I really enjoy reading the biblical scholar N.T. Wright, Anglican from England. And he's written, I don't know, a gazillion books. He writes one, I think, every 3 days. Um, and you can go online to Google. If you Google NT Wright and what you're looking for, you will find videos on a whole series of things, presentations he's given. Let's say the New Testament, the Gospel of Mark. You'd find a half dozen videos that he's given. So I'm searching for a biblical scholar that's high reputation and a presentation. So I could recommend a video. I could do a video program. I could listen to an audio book or a podcast. I could do it on my way back and forth to work. My wife does that. She commutes about 45 minutes every day, and she just plows through audio books if you like to listen to books. I could find a mentor, somebody who's really good in my church, who just went through the Diocesan Biblical School, got a certificate, who's going to mentor me. Once a week we're going to meet, and I'll treat for coffee or breakfast or whatever, and we're going to discuss, a book of the Bible or chapters from a book. I can read a Bible. I can use a Bible app. The YouVersion Bible, which was created by lifechurch.tv, it's a real church, multi-site church, obviously not Catholic, or it'd be saintlifechurch.tv. They created the YouVersion Bible. You may even have it on your phone. It's about, right now they're up to almost like 200 versions of the scriptures, different versions, and about 100-something different languages. It's been downloaded over 50 million times. It's a lot of, they could tell you right now, this minute, how many people are reading the Bible and what they're reading. This is all the analytics. What they're reading, how many are in a Bible study, how many have a personal Bible study plan, Bible reading plan. And I could organize a study group. If I'm really motivated, I might find other people who say, let's do that. And then we'll bring our own speaker in. I can do all those things today, and they're all really without going very far. If I want to learn to read the Bible, I can learn it because I'm going to assemble what? A network of people and resources around me. And who's at the center? Me, the learner. Now, what if you took that personal example and bumped it up to the way the church did faith formation, and you built faith formation networks around people? So here's a Families with Children network. And by the way, the network then becomes the website. So you start, I always say, you start on paper before you go digital. So I'm going to assemble around Families with Children that we're going to engage them. So some content's going to pour out of the intergenerational community. Sunday worship, church year feast, maybe intergenerational service, etc. And then around that, remember those 8 faith-forming processes from this morning? Well, I kind of organize those around to say, this is the content, the experiences, the digital, whatever it might be, that they're going to find in our network, programs, activities. So I have Sunday worship at home. I'm going to extend that into people's lives at home. Faith practices they can access that connect to church life, the center, but bring it home. Their seasons, then Bible, rituals, service, resources for building family life assets, for parents themselves. I can put the children's programming on here so I can extend Vacation Bible School or weekly classes into the home. And missional things for parents who want a pathway back or a pathway to religious practice. I can assemble all those resources on a network. Each one of these then develops little branches off of that with content, activities, experiences, programming. So what I offer each of them can be varied. Now watch. It's only made possible by 2 things: digital platform to deliver it and an abundance of content, programs, and activities that I can assemble. In the old model, you couldn't have done this because you would have gotten a couple of circles in and then gone for therapy. So here's Holy Trinity Families. This is just the 4 parents. Now, this is a season of programming. So the way I've learned how to do this is 3 seasons of programming, 4 months per season. You can't update it every month. You'll go nuts. You can't do it. You got to work in bigger blocks because you'll spend all your time uploading stuff. January to April is season 1, and I get Lent. May to August is my summer programming. And I would program in the summer, but it's going to look different than my other season. And then January, and then September through December. And I get Advent, Christmas. So just 3 big blocks, but 12 months worth, but in these seasons. So this is, so I'm going to go to just for the for parents section. Okay. And so what I've created just for parents, I've pulled together 4 kinds of learning around parent education, formation, confidence building, for lack of a better word. So they can come to my first Wednesday webinars. You're gonna like my webinars, by the way. You're gonna wish you were a member of Holy Trinity's parish. So you can sign up at the end of the workshop. You can join my parish. So my first Wednesday's parent webinars are the first Wednesdays, but people stay at home. Do not come out. Do not spend $300 on babysitting tonight. And we're going to bring the webinar to you. Now, what this does is anybody could be my presenter. They just have to be able to go online a little before 9 o'clock Eastern time. They could be in California. They could be in Australia. It doesn't make any difference where the presenter comes from. And I'm coming right into their home because I'm going to use a Google Plus Hangout. All they got to do is get the URL, and they're going to watch a video, and they'll have a little chat box. They can ask questions during the webinar. It's only an hour long. So stay home, put your feet up, have a cold beer, have a glass of Cabernet. We're coming to you 4 times. Now, what's not up here is that in May, we're going to have a parent gathering, a parent dinner for all the people who've been online who haven't seen each other. They're not getting a chance, and I think they'll all come, by the way, because I'm going to provide babysitting, and I'm feeding them. And we're going to structure an evening where we talk about what you learned, what you discovered, how you're parenting, the stories, all that kind of stuff to build some sense of community among parents. See, I think they'll come because I met them where they were first before they invited them to a party at church. So you see the middle one? Miss one? Watch it online. Google Plus Hangouts give me the ability to record it while we're presenting it, and then it's going to go into my YouTube channel for my parish. By the way, all of this has cost me nothing technologically. Google Plus Hangouts are free. My YouTube channel is free. All I'm doing is paying the presenter, which you would have done anyway, and he or she would have come for 12 parents who probably didn't need the presentation anyway. Now they could reach a couple of hundred. By the way, once the word gets out, they could reach a couple of thousand people. So they can register right online. None of the old-fashioned stuff. Just register. Tell me when you're coming. You submit this, Weebly exports it and creates an Excel spreadsheet. So I know who's coming, got their email address. That's the best part. I got their email addresses. I got them. But they click here, and what would open up is something that looks just like this. And they can watch the video right online. If I'm smart, I'll get my middle school kids to help me by breaking this up into like 10, 15-minute segments. Because nobody's going to watch a 45-minute movie online unless it's, a Hollywood movie. And then what I've done here is, on the topics that we're addressing, I've put some digital content. But you'll notice it's not on my website. So let's go this one. So if they want more about positive values, one of our sessions, they're going to go to the Search Institute's website called Parent Further. They've already done the content. Experts have done this. Why would I want to spend any time doing this? It'd be like I could show a movie, I could show videos of N.T. Wright explaining the Gospel of Luke, or I could spend the next 6 weeks trying to present the Gospel of Luke. Which option are you choosing? I'm going to choose N.T. Wright every time. Who's got the time to prepare all that? And I'm probably going to use his book anyway. So there we go. We're connected. So I got all that content across there. So I have my first option is my first Wednesday webinars. My second is I learn more, and this is always available to them. Then we're going to do a small group study. This is a great book called The Secrets of Happy Families. Bruce Feiler did this wonderful research, interviewed real-life people, and It's not a fall small group. It's actually supposed to be a winter, spring small group. And then I put his TED Talk there to get them excited about wanting to read the book. And they could join a study group at church. I'd give them some options, just like the other form you saw. They could host their own group, and I'll deliver the study questions, the rest to them. Okay? Or they could, if they travel a lot, they can organize it. I'll have it set up in Google Plus Hangout. They could do it. People who are going to do this already know how these technologies work. I just have to know that they're available. I got a longer webinar for them if they want to see this about parenting strategies. I've got a nice article they can download from the Search Institute. And then I wrapped it up with this season. This is always on the bottom. It's the Boys Town Parenting Center. It's a wonderful thing that they've done with an 800 hotline open 24 hours a day if parents have questions or are ready to jump out the third floor window. It really was not that hard to create because you notice how much programming I actually created. Nothing. I designed it. I was the architect behind it. I curated it, but I didn't design the content. I don't have time to design the content. Now when I have experts like this who are part of my adjunct staff, this is the 4-parent circle programmed for one season. That circle is always there. I just changed my programming season, and I saved this. Because the nice thing about a website is you simply archive this page. You may want to go back to it later or a year from now. And those videos are always going to be available on the what? The 4-parents only video page. It's really pretty cool, isn't it? And that's just content I've found. In the course of a whole year at your church, you create lots of content. So, you're running your adult Lenten series right now for the 35 people who come every year. As long as no one dies, that same 35 will be back next year. But you say to yourself there, we should be reaching 350 people. So are you recording the presentation? Bring the high school kids in. You'll get a twofer. They'll have to listen to the presentation, and you'll get the video. Ask them to put it into smaller chunks, and now you have original content for what? My network. So the Lenten series, which usually dies at 9:01 on Wednesday night or Thursday night, now can live because Lent will be back next year. Think of all the content just your church, let alone the churches in this room, generate good, high-quality content that you paid to develop. You brought speakers in. You invested in it. You're frustrated you're not reaching enough people. Just record it. Then wrap some content and experiences around it, just like I did with this, from other sources. Don't write it. Only write what you cannot find, which means you'll write very little. And you'll curate a lot. But in the course of the year, your church generates gobs of content. You cannot afford to do one-off programming anymore. You just can't. You don't have the time and money. I would never stop doing the Lenten series for my 35 people. But my goal is by recording it and putting some content around it, I now have a resource that can be used as a small group study at the same time. Record it, 2 days later it's online, a small group is using it. I could use it next year. Not to replace the large gathering, to offer another option. In 3 or 4 years, imagine the content you will have created, your own homegrown content, let alone all the content's available online. Once you post it, everybody in this room will have access to it. So I'm a small church, and I can't afford to do an adult Lenten series. In fact, I'd be the only one who came. But I can access yours and make it available to my people. It's interesting, isn't it? But it's doable. You're already doing this work. It's just getting more mileage out of it. You just ask them for permission. Like we're videotaping today, and I'm going to make big Hollywood residuals on this videotape. Most people will say, that's fine, because it's for your use. Some people want to be videotaped. As it gets on the internet, people find them and they ask them to come to their church. Not everybody, but you just ask permission, that's all. If somebody says no, that's fine, so you don't record that one. No matter what, you're ahead at the end of the year, even if not everybody said yes. Sometimes it's an audio podcast. They'll let you do that. We'll do an audio podcast. Some people can listen to that on the way back and forth to work. All good. By the way, if you do the video, you automatically get the audio podcast, so that's easy. Some presenters will say, you can record my presentation, but not the question and answer, where they might go off script. So you do that. I'll work with it. My goal is I want to develop a library. I'll work with the presenter, and if they're not comfortable, we won't do it. It might build some incentive to, hey, how come this session's not online? Maybe I should go to that one. Not be, when you promote it next year, say, not being recorded. Or live, or be there live or lose it, or something like that. You can have some fun with that. I mean, really, when you think about YouTube videos, not that they've lowered the bar, I don't mean that, but the content or the presentation is much more important than the style. So you get a lot of substance points, but not style points all the time. I think you want to take care that you can hear it well, you can see it well, okay? But I wouldn't use Hollywood production values as my criteria anymore. 10 years ago, I might not have said that, but I think the YouTube phenomena is that people are, if it's good content in shorter bites, they're willing to listen to good stuff. I did a presentation about a year ago. Somebody filmed it on their iPhone. It was remarkable how good it was. Even sound quality was good. I was in a church doing it. I just was amazed. Just from their phone. And if you have an iPhone 6, it's even a better quality. Parents need to sign off a permission thing. And make it an unending permission if you can. So you're not doing it for every it's on record, you filed it, you give them a copy and done. Those who haven't done it, just fill it out whenever you're doing it. Stay with a wide angle shot if you can. No names. If you use names, you could just, use a first name, but try to stay away from names. Intergenerational settings are really great because you have adults with the kids, and I just don't think it on a parish website it's as big an issue as it is on Facebook and other settings. So I think but get permission, a couple of practical common sense kind of things. That's my approach to photos and video, but check policies and that kind of stuff. We've kind of gone a little bit, I think, too restrictive. In fact, we need to find that middle ground, that balance in terms of respecting privacy and protection, safety, but still being able to say, here's the highlights of the Vacation Bible School, and people go, wow, look what the kids did, that kind of thing. The other thing you can do on some of these where it might be much more personalized, you could put the video on a website and just password protect it. So I could put it on a page, password protect that page, so the people who can watch it are the families. I can show it on Sunday, but nobody else can see it. It's just for those people, so you can password protect that page. So it kind of puts a little firewall between you and the video. So that's my for parents page. Let me do a content page of like a theological content page, all right? So let's go back to adults, and let's do scripture. Now, if you're at Holy Trinity for this Lent, we've got great stuff for you. You would just love what we're doing, all right? So our focus is the death and resurrection of Jesus. I don't know where I got that topic from, but I thought it might work in Lent. So we have 4 options if you're interested. Participate in a 4-session presentation at church. Watch the video presentation on your own or with a small group. Participate in a 6-week small group scripture study. And study the death and resurrection of Jesus on your own. I got a spelling mistake. This screen is smaller, so this would not be here normally. So I've set up a little blog where people can post their thoughts. And I just opened the opening question, and they could just add their comments and just type in what they're thinking. So just a way for everyone to see what everybody else is doing, and they can feel free to do that. They don't have to, but it's the option. So here's my Lenten series. 4 presenters. We're going to do Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. My 4 nights are going to register for the series online, and then after the session, maybe 2 or 3 days later, they'll be able to watch it. I can even put a small group study guide with it if a small group or organize small groups around the content rather than come on Thursday night. I'm going to use Little Rock Scripture Study. This is a 6-session program, so it actually started the week, first week of Lent, take it right through to Holy Week. This is all done. So join a group. And all I've done here, it's really pretty simple. I give them 4 options. I picked 4 times that worked for me. I didn't care about them. I gave them 4 options. So they can register right online. I can get back to them real easy. They can host their own group. I'll deliver all the materials to their home. They can just do it in the comfort of their own home. There's their adults. The nice thing about, I can't figure it out why more people don't do adult faith formation. No permission slips, no child protection stuff. They drive, they have insurance. It's almost heaven. Like, why would I want to bother with all that other procedural stuff with children and teens? Like, I work with adults. They don't have any of that stuff. And I can serve them wine and beer. So they can buy the Little Rock Bible Study from Amazon. They can buy the ebook directly from Little Rock. And then option 3, study the Bible on your own. This is a great little thing. Boston College has a free course. Free course. The Death of Jesus 4 Gospel Accounts fits my stuff completely. And you just simply take the course right online. So now the question for people is, we're going to study the passion narratives. What option do you want? Not, will you come Thursday night or not? I've got Thursday night, I got on your own, I got small group, I got a course. Pick how you want to learn. I'm just taking as many barriers away that I possibly can. But you know what? I've always done the presentation thing. I haven't added any more work. I've just gotten more mileage out of it. And everybody in this, every parish here has a couple of adults you could tap to be a small group leader and a host for the small group Bible study. And it's pretty self-directed. You can even watch the videos for it. Little Rock kind of does the whole thing, except come to your house. It's about the only thing they don't do. Doesn't this feel possible? You start small. I mean, that's why I say start with adults. If it doesn't succeed, it can't be worse than what's going on this year. But it might. And this is kind of a litmus test. People can try this. I'll see, well, how many took I know how many took the online course, because I'll be able to see from my analytics. I'm going to ask them to share what they're learning. I can even have sign up for an online. If you take an online course, check here so I know who you are and give me your email address. You do this for a year, you're going to develop a whole database of great email addresses and what people participate in. You could develop little profiles in a database, not you. You get somebody who loves to do this stuff. Me, not me. Somebody who loves to do this stuff. You could have a little profile, transcript for every adult in your community. What they took, when they took it. Wouldn't that be cool? You'd actually learn something about your adults. And you'd know what they're interested in. Wow, look at all the people who took this. This one, not so much. In 3 years, what would your adult faith formation look like in your parish if you took this approach? Even if 40% of this stuff really didn't get traction. Heck, if you were a baseball player and you struck out 40% of the time, but 60% of the time you got on base, you'd be in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. No one's batted .600 in the history of Major League Baseball. So I'm willing to experiment. Some things aren't going to work. Don't do a survey. Maybe some focus groups to learn about, but let this be your survey so people can see it and touch it and say, this really works for me. That's how we'll learn. It'll be a year before you know. 3 seasons of programming before you know. Like the parent webinars, well, I've actually seen that in practice, so this is a good one. After the first one, people said, whoa, this isn't your typical church program. That's a compliment. It was like, this is really good. I'm going to tell my people I work with, my siblings, whoever. And so they just use, it's the horizontal. They use their network. Friends tell friends who have friends who have friends. That kind of, let it work for you. But you have to have high quality content, which will not be a problem, but delivered in a way that's easy for people to access. And when I say we're coming to you, stay home, put up your feet, relax, save the money on babysitting for when you want to go out and have a nice dinner or a movie. What's happened in faith formation is we've made the goal the program, and the program the goal. I'm making the goal bigger and putting a lot of programming underneath that goal. We can do it with families. There's my adult example. Once I start thinking network, I start ideas start to flow in terms of the kinds of things I can do with people. Okay, you just got all of that. People can then personalize their experience. It's so hard for us to realize this is possible because we've just been in this mass audience mode, the one size fits all. And it's so hard to break, even though in our personal lives, we hate one size fits all. We absolutely hate it. Everybody wants to be personally cared for. You want choice. Why do you go to Amazon and type in men's vest and get 3,000 options? We love choice. So the one size fits all days are over. It's one size fits one days. And so when I put people at the center, I can aggregate all kinds of resources, programs, activities, videos, everything around those people. And then what some churches have started doing, and we'll talk more about this in the pilot project, they've started actually creating ways to assess people's growth so they can go to the network and pick what they need to match what they're interested in. So think about high school confirmation. What age do you confirm in the diocese? 16, 15, 16. Okay, high school. Good luck. All right. We already know based on the research what? We've already got a great spiritual diversity. So we got some kids in confirmation program who absolutely don't want to be there. So the high school kids are already stretched out all across all that diversity. You have some who are just bored to tears by the program. They've been through the 7 sacraments. They've got the creed down. They know Catholic social teaching. They've got it, and you're doing another review again. Again. They're ready for an undergraduate theology course. But you can't offer to them because you don't have enough people power to offer to them. Now you do. So go online and do an online course with a facilitator. Watch the videos. Discuss it. It may be only 6 kids, but they're not bored anymore. Then the other extreme, the waiting to leave group. Their parents made the bargain with them. This is the last thing you have to do, and I won't bug you anymore. Okay? Or they said this, you know that college you want to go to with the tuition? Do confirmation. The grand bargain. Those kids really need what? Welcome to Christianity, or welcome meeting Jesus again for the first time. They don't need a review of the catechism. They sit there. You could see the looks on their face. Keep teaching. It's almost time for confirmation. They're just waiting you out. They're waiting you out. And they're good at it. They do it really well. They'll wait us out. They'll get confirmed. You'll never see them again, ever. So why not start confirmation with an assessment? Why not personalize it? Where are you in your walk with God? And what's your next step in that walk? Now, 10 years ago would have been 4 or 5 different programs. You would have said, oh, can't do that. Now you have a digital platform. So as long as I don't have to worry about where the content's coming from, so that my small group of 6 kids who wants the undergraduate theology course, really hungry to talk about stuff, I can deliver that to them with a facilitator who doesn't have to teach it, who's just facilitating. And the other group, I can offer content like the Alpha course for them that starts with, who is God? Who is Jesus? Why is he even bothering with us? All organized around kind of their skeptical questions about whether this Christianity, Catholicism thing is worth their time and attention. And then I could still run the same program I've always run for my middle group who needs a refresher. But you could do 3 or 4 different programs because you have a digital platform for confirmation. You can personalize it. And at least give yourself the chance to engage them after confirmation. The question is, community is a real value. If I'm encouraging people to do this on their own, am I losing community? So my first question is, do you have it now? You don't have to answer it, but I just want you to think. Do I, like when I assemble all my confirmation kids into one big group and teach them, do I have community? Or do I have an assembly? Now, if I personalize this, and I'm the guy who gets the 6 kids who want to do the undergraduate course that we're going to access from BC, and for the next, 6, 8 weeks, we're going to explore this. Do you think I got a chance of building some community with them? Even if I flip the classroom and say, watch this and come in and talk about this. For the group that's skeptical, maybe even hostile to Christianity, by focusing around them, do I get a chance to build a community of skeptics? They can even be skeptical together. We can even give ourselves a name, Skeptics United. Here's my hunch. Diversifying doesn't lose community. It actually creates small communities around common interest, around common place on the journey, common needs. So it's taking big community and kind of breaking it out a bit. But remember, a big part of the ecosystem is the intergenerational community, which we don't replace. In fact, we want that to be a center hub that people come to worship together, serve together, commune together. So it's a both and piece. But it's individual and it's the group. Big group, small group. It's all part of the network. But all of this is built around connecting intergenerationally. That's how you balance it. Here's how you design one. It's really pretty straightforward in one sense. I built my network approach around the big 8. If these things actually are significant in fostering faith growth, then I ought to build my network around them. You notice I'm not building a network around topics or themes from a textbook. We've had that approach. It's just not enough. So I built it around processes that make a significant difference in helping people along a trajectory of which learning is one aspect. I've always been amazed. Everybody knows the 6 tasks of catechesis from the general directory. It's just putting them into practice that's a problem. Because we kind of get stuck around the instructional one. Build a network around the 8. Add the missional. The life issues at that stage of life. A life stage role like a grandparent or a parent. And your major programming. You're not going to leave behind your programming. You pull it into the network. But now it has a bigger context. So VBS gets put together with my whole children and families network. I can connect it, I can extend it, I can expand on it. And because I have a network, those parents who only dropped in for VBS see that our church does a whole lot more with families, with children, than just VBS. My approach on the network is build engagement and participation, program and activity by program and activity. So I'm looking for, you started here, good, where'd you go next? Where'd you go next? Then where'd you go? And then where'd you go? Can I build a pattern of repeatable engagements? It's hard to do that in our current programming because we don't have any options. Now you can put options, and one can lead to another because they're all connected and they're on a common digital platform. So somebody might start, like my adult example, in a caregiver group and make their way over to a Bible study group. You can't control that part of the process, so just let it go. In fact, you can't control any of the process, so just let it go. We spend so much time trying to control people. No, control the quality. We need to control the delivery. So that's why I'm playing the YouTube video on my website. I don't want you searching. I don't want you on YouTube searching. I don't want you on Google. I've curated it. You don't have to leave our site. And when you leave, you're going to go to a Lenten activity on CatholicMom.com and right to the page where the activity is. So now I can't stop you from going on the web and doing all kinds of crazy things in your spare time. But I'm going to aggregate all of that onto my platform. So the links will be to particular pages. YouTube and Vimeo videos will play right from my website. In fact, I want to make it so easy that you click and it plays. You click, you get the activity. Really simple for people. A good curator just makes sure that I'm just making it so, like it's so simple for you to do this. Like, how could you not do this? Well, every one of those red circles is a door, and doors in. And so if you come in this door, I'm still going to connect you to something over here, or something over here, or something over here. Yeah, yeah. That's what digital allows us to do in a way that you can't do, obviously, in the physical world. I could put a forum in there. Weebly allows you to drag and drop a forum where you could do moderate content, give different forums, or I can link to my Faith Formation Facebook page. And there I can do all the social media stuff. So I have one church doing this Lent. They have a Faith Formation Facebook page, and they're doing a picture a day for 40 days of Lent. And they also have a Flickr account. I think it's Flickr they've got. Okay. So what they're doing is post a picture to Flickr and post a comment to Facebook with a link to your picture and show us one thing you do every day in Lent to praying, fasting, or almsgiving. Give us a practice every day. They have hundreds of photos. Oh, it's not Flickr, it's Instagram they're doing it on. It's even better because it's all social media. And so someone's moderating it, not a 65-year-old. Someone's moderating in the parish, but you're getting this visual picture of Lent practice in the parish. Who asked me about evaluation before? This is it. When you visually see people doing something during Lent, visually. Now, you can also get smart and do video clips, but they're just doing photos. A photo a day for 40 days. I think it's brilliant. If it's the parish's Instagram account, you give them permission to upload, and that controls it. So it's not public in that public sense. And you can do the same thing on Facebook as well. You could even do a closed Facebook group if you wanted to, but kind of defeats the purpose of what you want to do on Facebook. But I'm not worried about people posting, Lenten stuff. If people post inappropriate stuff, you do the most wonderful thing. You go there and delete it. And I tell people, no names. Just upload the photo. And there's some of these applications you can actually embed into your website, but that's too technical for me. You need to have a church website for all the information you normally provide. And what I always say is the church website is designed by the staff for the staff. It's all that kind of information. The Faith Formation website, it's almost like an external website. What I mean by that is it's got content, experiences, interactions, that kind of stuff that you can't. So I suggest two platforms. You can't get rid of the church website because it has a function to play in all this. But when I click on Families with Children Faith Formation off the church website and hit that menu item, it takes me to this page. One click. And then vice versa. On here it will say, Holy Trinity Church website. Click and you go back there. So you can cross-navigate, but they're really very different. Usually a church web, and not the new church websites, the ones that are built on a WordPress platform that can do all kinds of wonderful things. But typically a church website is information-based, not formation-based. And so it's really not designed for learning. If a church told me they were building a platform from scratch, and they were going to use WordPress, then they could do everything I'm describing on a WordPress platform and have one website if they wanted to. Weebly is just so easy that I tell people have multiple websites, but the church website is your portal to get to all of those. Yeah. And I want them to have a look and feel. The problem with the church website is it's hard to get a look and feel that it's for this age group. So, I want the youth one to look youthy, not oldie.